Welcome back. If it has joined us, you're watching the news at 10, broadcasting on Channels Television live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Nigeria police records anti-crime success as it arrests 5 suspects alleged to be behind the kidnap of elder statesman Chief Olufalaye. NNPC publishes its financial statements for 2015, posts $607.8 million to the Federation account. It's the International Day for the Girl Child as the Bring Back Our Girls group restates call for the rescue of the abducted Chibok girls. And Turkey thrown into mourning following a deadly blast in Ankara. I'd like to remind you that all our top stories can be found on our websites, channelstv.com and on youtube.com/channelsweb. You can also visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device and download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows phones from their respective stores. We also urge you to interact with the Channels Eyewitness feature in the Channels TV app on the Android, iOS and Windows platforms. If you have pictures or videos you'd like to share with us, please tap the application on your device, swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu and follow the instructions. And here are a few pictures sent into our Eyewitness portal. Let's begin with this one from Agbara in Ogun State, showing a long stretch of road with potholes and petrol tankers struggling to navigate through the flooded road. Our Eyewitness report is calling on the government to fix the road. And here is the Ikenebu Road in Owerri, Imo State, showing another flood. This time, a vehicle is almost submerged in the water. Our Eyewitness reporter describes this as pathetic. He wants the Imo State government to look into the situation there. Finally is this picture from Oyo State, which looks more like an accident waiting to happen. A loaded pickup van with about 6 layers of different kinds of load. Our Eyewitness reporter claims this may have passed road safety and other security agencies and is wondering why arrests have not been made. Thank you for sending in those pictures and please keep them coming. You're our Eyewitness reporter anywhere you are in Nigeria or in the world. A Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has asked Nigerians to avoid taking tribal positions regarding the government's war against corruption. He says fighting corruption as well as other crimes, irrespective of the ethnic background of perpetrators, remains a top priority for government. He said this during an interactive session with Nigerians at the High Commission in Pretoria, South Africa, where issues touching on security, the economy, aviation, youth and diaspora engagement were discussed. Back home, the Benue State government's amnesty program for bandits and cultists has ended, with a total of 366 assorted weapons recovered from about 175 criminals who embraced clemency. While rounding up this phase of the amnesty program of disarmament, the state governor, Mr. Samuel Otom, confirmed that 700 persons embraced the amnesty program. The governor revealed that a 2-day skills acquisition retreat for the repentant criminals will soon be flagged off, but he warned that lawlessness will no longer be tolerated.
This cache of arms and ammunition is the fruit of the amnesty proclaimed by Governor Samuel Otom, which was embraced by Mr. Tewase Akwaza, alias Ghana, wanted in both Benue and Taraba states.
This is dear wife, Mrs. Queen.
After receiving amnesty in August, Ghana surrendered his arsenal and then requested for a 4-week extension to enable him turn in his foot soldiers in order to afford them a new lease of life. The hitherto most wanted crime leader in Benue and Taraba states has apparently kept his word during the 4-week window. Ghana brings the rest of his boys to the amnesty table. He says his life as a gang leader is past and his cohorts are willing to learn a legitimate trade. Some of the young men who had earlier trod the path of crime tell Channels Television that they've turned a new leaf.
My own job and my own opinion, what I want to do in my life, I want to continue my school. I want to be doing
poetry, and fishing. That is what I want to be doing.
For a repentant cultist in Makudi who had been on the run and a community leader in the state capital, the amnesty program is a well-thought-out policy which has reduced cult-related activities.
But so far everything being like this, we are okay. I can drag and I can build. I can do many things, but no fit name them now, but I do many handwork.
Most of them now, you see, they keep appreciating the efforts the governor has done. Because when they were in this act, they were not able to meet themselves. They will be afraid of moving from places to places, but now they move freely. Peace has returned.
Done with the amnesty, the next phase for the governor is the rehabilitation of the repentant criminals.
These ones that willingly surrendered, we're going to hold a retreat for them, and we're going to integrate them into the society. We're going to support them to bring out the talents that God has given them so that they'll be useful members of the society and can support themselves, support the society, and support the state and Nigeria.
With the amnesty offer no longer on the table, security agents have been directed to hunt down known criminals, while the 38 convicted criminals earlier granted state pardon will join the 700 repentant ones at a skills acquisition retreat.
Today is the International Day for the Girl Child, a day adopted by the United Nations to recognize girls' rights and the unique challenges girls around the world face, including gender discrimination, poor education, abuse, and violence. The theme this year is the power of the adolescent girl vision for 2030. According to the UN, as the world focuses on the new Sustainable Development Goals, now is a good time to consider the importance of social, economic, and political investments in adolescent girls as fundamental to achieving equitable and sustainable development outcomes. Girls born at the turn of the millennium have reached adolescence, and the generation of girls born this year will be adolescents in 2030. Adolescent girls have the right to a safe, educated, and healthy life, not only during these critical formative years, but also as they mature into women. If effectively supported during the adolescent years, girls have the potential to participate in mainstream development as tomorrow's workers, mothers, entrepreneurs, mentors, household heads, and political leaders. The Bring Back Our Girls group, a social activist group campaigning for the rescue of the over 200 girls abducted in a senior secondary school in Chibok, Borno State, have joined the rest of the world to mark the Day of the Girl Child. Abubakar Yusuf, a representative of the group, the Bring Back Our Girls campaigners, says the continuous captivity and prolonged inability to rescue the girls clearly portrays a breakdown of the social contract between the government and the citizenry. According to the group, the federal government needs to revamp its combat preparedness and strategies to not only rescue the girls, but also combat the rising cases of young girls and boys being used as suicide bombers to cause mayhem in the country.
The Bring Back Our Girls movement wish to use this day to call for a new combat and intelligence strategies and urgency towards the rescue of our Chibok girls. Their continuous stay in abduction not only exposes them to high possibility of radicalization, but also denies them access to a life that guarantees their wholesomeness and opportunity to be positive contributors to Nigeria's developing economy. To this end, we call on the federal government of Nigeria through its relevant institutions and agencies to 1, ensure prioritization and redoubling of military and non-military actions needed for the immediate rescue of our Chibok girls, all other girls and persons in captivity. 2, execute plans necessary for the adequate security of all affected communities in the Northeast and the nation as a whole. Implement and promote policies, strategies, and actions that guarantees protection of girl-child rights in Nigeria. Strengthen all institutions with a view of providing an enabling environment for the advancement of girl-child rights.
I'm now being joined on the News at 10 by Ayo Obe, a legal practitioner who's also a member of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign group. You're welcome to the News at 10.
Hi.
What really can we celebrate this day of the International Day of the Girl Child? There must be something to celebrate, even though, there's gloom everywhere. The stories that we hear about, the challenges facing the girl child internationally and in Nigeria specifically.
Well, I'm sorry, but I can't actually give any cause to celebrate, because to me, the whole issue of the Chibok girls, in a way, it encapsulates all the problems that we face. And as Amina Mohammed had said, if any of us is unequal, then none of us is equal. So whilst we, perhaps if we live in Lagos or some other places, we might say, well, there is progress being made and we can look at some good things that are happening. But really, if we want to relax and think that we're okay, we just have to think for 1 minute about the Chibok girls, the 219 who are still unaccounted for. And really...
But there is still hope that they will return, right?
Well, there's always hope that they will be returned. As the former president said, to the extent that he has not seen their dead bodies, we will have to assume that they're still alive. And the reports that are coming out suggest that they are alive, although those reports tend to be of the type that are in a way designed to tell us that, oh, they've gone through such terrible changes that they themselves have changed, and almost as if the unspoken suggestion is that we should therefore forget about them. But those of us who have decided to stand in the breach for them are not ready to forget about them, and we say that when we see them, we will know what condition they're in, and we will also know what things can be done to rescue them.
But let's talk about other girls now in Nigeria. Have we done enough to improve the lives of the girl child at these 4 years since the establishment of the International Day of the Girl Child in 2011?
Well, I wouldn't really say that we've done nearly enough. I mean, if we look at the new Sustainable Development Goals that have been fixed by the United Nations, we can see that the fifth one is about gender equality. It was in 2012 that a study showed that Nigeria was coming 118 out of 134 countries when it comes to issues of gender equality. So we clearly have a lot of ground to make up. Again, you look at things like the number of children in education, you find that it's bad in some parts of the country, but it's terrible it's even worse for girls than it is for boys. So again, we have a lot of work to do. And I must say again that the impact of the abduction of the Chibok girls and the general assault on education by groups like Boko Haram is not going to improve the prospects for education, and is going to make those for education of girl children even worse.
So what would improve the situation? I know security, providing security for girls, of course, is necessary, but what else can the government do?
I think we also have to get it out of our heads that education is going to turn women into raging, undisciplined, promiscuous termagants. I think this is the real problem that we face in Nigeria. There's this mental attitude or this mindset that a woman who is educated is a woman who cannot be controlled, and therefore it's better to have her, to use the old phrase, barefoot and pregnant and ignorant, rather than do the things that will educate her, that will raise her own status, forgetting that the status of a raised woman also raises the status of her children and her family. I mean, we don't have to turn to Proverbs, that famous
Proverbs 31.
that's always trotted out every time on International Women's Day to tell us about the wonderful woman who quite frankly gets on my nerves. But anyway, I mean, but the point is that the idea that the men are too weak to be able to cope with an intelligent woman is a bad one. In fact, an intelligent woman and an intelligent man is an almost unbeatable combination. So I think that first, if we get rid of that mindset that it's bad or that it's not quite so terrible if a woman isn't educated. Then we can now we can begin to tackle the things that need to be tackled from a perspective of this is something we want to do, not this is something that we're just doing because, but so that really we have to imbibe the idea that we want girls. And I'm coming from a family, I mean, my mother, my grandfather was a strong believer in girls' education. So my mother, as his eldest child, naturally went to school, and as did her sisters. So it's not something that's new.
Do you think that the Sustainable Development Goals will help to clear some of this notion? I mean, the rest of the world is really actively aware of the importance of the girl child.
I think Nigeria can be actively aware too, but I think we need to stop making excuses about culture and so on and so forth. I mean, you look at other countries in the world which would appear to have the same kind of cultural background or religious background or whatever it is as us, and they don't have the same levels of underage marriage, forced marriage, girl-child marriage, things that are have a bad impact on the development and uplifting of the girl child. And of course those girl children, as you said, will grow up into the kind of citizens that will lift our country up.
Yeah, hopefully the Nigerian populace recognize that and begin to value the girl child more. Mrs. Ayobe, thank you so much for joining us on the News at 10.
You're welcome.
I've been speaking with legal practitioner Ayobe, who's also a member of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign group, on the importance of the girl child on this International Day of the Girl Child. And when the News at 10 returns, Nigerian Navy warns its personnel against taking advantage of civilians during their operations. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.